Record of file name SCP-004. Item SCP-004. Object Class Usolid. Special Containment Procedures. When handling items SCP-004-2 through SCP-004-13, proper procedure is vital. The items are not permitted to be moved off-site unless accompanied by 2 Level 4 security personnel. Under no circumstances should any other component of SCP-004 be taken through SCP-004-1. The effects of doing so are as yet unknown, and the current cost of experimentation makes further research impractical. Should any of the objects contained within SCP-004-1 breach containment, or the facility be breached, the keys must be brought inside and the door closed prior to activation of Site-62's on-site warhead. Unauthorized removal of keys from the testing area is grounds for immediate termination. Level 1 clearance is required for basic access to SCP-004-1. Level 4 clearance is required for use of SCP-004-2-13. Description: SCP-004 consists of an old wooden barn door, SCP-004-1, and a set of 12 rusted steel keys, SCP-004-2 through SCP-004-13. The door itself is an entrance to an abandoned factory in Redacted. Chronological history: 2nd of the 7th, 1949. A group of 3 juveniles trespassing on federal property near Redacted find the door. According to their testimony, they found a set of rusted keys in an iron lockbox and determined what door the keys unlock. The juveniles are taken into custody after they contact Sheriff Redacted and one of their friends. SCP-004-CAS-01 was missing. 3rd of the 7th, 1949. Local authorities find the severed right hand of SCP-004-CAS-01 8 kilometers from SCP-004-1. Other parts of SCP-004-CAS-01's body as far as 32 kilometers from the factory. Under interrogation, the apprehended juveniles tell authorities that upon opening the door with one of the keys, SCP-004-CAS-01 was torn into several pieces, each of which disappeared. At this point, the SCP Foundation takes over the investigation. 4th of the 7th, 1949. SCP Agent Redacted obtains the keys from the local authorities to begin testing. Tests show that SCP-004-2 through SCP-004-13 all fit into a single lock on the barred door. 12 Class D personnel are assigned to test the effects of the door. Of the 12 test subjects, each trying a different key to enter the room, only 2 survive. Opening the door with any key except SCP-004-7 or SCP-004-12 caused the test subjects to be torn apart in multiple directions. However, no dismembered parts were found until later. At the time of writing, only 2 pairs of each subject have been recovered, with the exception of the subject using SCP-004-redacted, whose pieces were scattered in close proximity. The others, for all intensive purposes, have vanished from existence. Of the 2 surviving subjects, only one, having used SCP-004-7, returned unharmed. The other came back in a near catatonic state, able only to remove himself from the room and then collapse on the floor, and had to be restrained to prevent him from gouging out his eyes. See Appendix A. Mental health effects of SCP-004. The subject using SCP-004-7 said that he had entered a large room, impossibly big for the size of the attached building. After his exit, SCP-004-1 was propped open, and an armed squad of Level 3 personnel entered. The size of the room is impossible to measure, and the door frame and the individuals in the room are the only part of the room that can be felt or illuminated. 16th of the 7th, 1949. The juvenile suspect and Sheriff Redacted are terminated. 2nd of the 8th, 1949. Redacted is declared a hazardous area due to unexploded ordnance and fences erected in order to prevent civilian ingress. Tests to determine safety of exposure to environment behind SCP-004-1 begin. The first of the 12, 1950. Space-time anomalies resulting from exposure to SCP-004 are confirmed. Testing is suspended until further notice. The 2nd of the 7th, 19 Redacted. The unaccounted for remains of SCP-004-CAS-01 appear unexpectedly outside SCP-004-1. Despite being killed decades before, the remains of SCP-004-CAS-01 are not decomposed in any manner and are still warm to the touch. Blood remains uncoagulated. The remains are remanded for testing. The 4th of the 7th, 19 redacted. The unaccounted for remains of one of the 12 original test subjects appear in a similar manner to those of SCP-004 CAS-01. The remains have been designated SCP-004-CAS-02. Records suggest that both SCP-004-CAS-01 and CAS-02 use SCP-004-redacted. The 21st of the 3rd, 1999. With the massive proliferation of nuclear weapons in World War III only redacted years away, construction has begun on a site inside SCP-004-1. The site is to stock supplies for redacted person days. The 21st of the 4th, 1999. Redacted has ordered the site inside SCP-004-1 to be expanded to include emergency storage for all mobile SCP redacted specimens and a redacted petabyte database for the storage of all SCP data. The facility is now referred to as Site-62. 25th of the 9th, 2000. Site-62 is operational. Labs and containment units are complete and can contain the most dangerous specimens. Backup of the SCP database has begun. 25th of the 1st, 2001. Due to time anomalies, see space-time anomalies below. All personnel working on Site-62 are now required to reside on site permanently. Families of personnel are to be informed that loved ones perished in an industrial accident. Own bodies have been prepared for funeral. 14th of the 8th, 2003. Massive power outages across northeast United States and through Canada. Due to the initial failure of multiple SCP generators, Site-62 was without power for 53 minutes. During those 53 minutes, those on site were completely without any source of light. They reported sensing creatures and people, although no abnormal entities could be seen or felt. Selected facility personnel were allowed to read redacted Appendix A and said the creatures sensed were of humanoid size but otherwise similar to the massive green creature described. Space-time anomalies. SCP-004 seems to propagate spatiotemporal anomalies. Personnel leaving the facility report losing time. Those who have been in the site for weeks insist they had only been in the facility for several days, and records of work completed and supplies consumed support their claims. Other temporal anomalies involve SCP-004-2 through -13, especially the reappearance of SCP-004-CAS-01 and SCP-004-CAS-02, exactly redacted years after using SCP-004-redacted. Redacted has been assigned to investigate all aspects of these time anomalies. Spatial anomalies include the impossibly large dimensions of the area opened by SCP-004-7. The 2003 blackout incident suggests that there are exits and alternative planes of existence within the same space that Site-62 occupies. Additional notes. Testing on SCP-004 reveals that 10 of the keys open SCP-004-1 on a dimension where the laws of physics and topology are significantly different than those of our home dimension. Test subjects meeting with these hostile conditions are torn apart, their body parts dispersed in various locations, only 3 of which have been verified to be unearthed. Material deposited at 2 of these points appears immediately. Material deposited at the 3rd appears exactly redacted years into the future. The other 7 locations are currently unknown. Current testing focuses on 2 avenues of research. The first is finding ways to survive CSP-004's hostile topologies. The second, redacted, suggests that SCP-004-2-13 may open doors other than SCP-004-1. Appendix A. Mental health effects of SCP-004-12. All Class D personnel using SCP-004-12 return in a catatonic state, unable to speak. Some may have enough energy left to try and claw out their eyes. Of the 16 subjects, only 4 have survived. Only 1 has regained speech. Following long-term psychotherapy, he was able to tell the psychiatrist that he saw a massive green creature, so large that much of its body extended beyond his field of view. He reported an innate fear and sudden recognition, as if it were something buried deep in his primal fears, and forced implantation of incomprehensible memories. Subject displays acute and anterograde and retrograde amnesia. What file should I read next?